Hello, I'm Ger Rowe from the Drug Awareness Project at Bray Youth Service. We meet with young people in local schools and community groups to raise awareness of the health risks associated with alcohol and substance misuse. Since the ending of the COVID pandemic restrictions, we've received an increasing amount of requests from local secondary schools to provide advice to their students regarding smoking and vaping activities. Schools have identified a rising usage trend as a concern. This is mirrored by recent reports from the Health Research Board and non-government agencies such as the Irish Cancer Society, who state that more young people are now taking up the smoking and vaping habits. In order to find out what our young people think about the issues, I called into our Seomra Youth Centre in Bray to talk to a youth group that meets there. They go by the name of the Wizard Guild.
This is a podcast from the Wizards Guild.
You shall not pass!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Dark and difficult times lie ahead. Soon we must all face the choice between what is right and what is easy.
We're off to see the wizard.
This is a podcast from the Wizards Guild.
I'm Josh, I'm 18.
I'm Parker, I'm 19.
I'm Gray, I'm 18.
I'm Navon, I'm 20.
I'm Callum, I'm 18.
Perfect, guys. We're naturals.
I first asked the group if they were aware of the groundbreaking protections that they have from tobacco products and their marketing as a result of the 2004 Health Act, commonly known as the smoking ban.
I don't think myself as a young person I would be aware of the smoking ban. Did you say it was in 2004?
2004, yeah.
Yeah, most of us would have been born like 2005, 2006, so I think in this group specifically I wouldn't say we would have much of an awareness around it because we grew up in an era that it was already enacted, and so we wouldn't have an idea of what it was like before that.
Would it surprise you to know that in the past people could smoke in hospitals?
Say disappointingly, I'm not that surprised.
No, me neither. I'm not surprised either.
Like, they used to promote it for pregnant women. So, I mean, the hospitals aren't a huge leap from that.
Yeah. They used to say it helps you, does good things instead of harming you.
So what about vapes? Do you think that young people now have more exposure to vape products than they do to tobacco products?
Definitely.
Far more. It's so weird, but I remember 10 years ago, I wouldn't have even known what a vape was, but now you can't walk 5 meters in the area without seeing a vape on the ground or something, and it's so common with young people because it's kind of replaced tobacco and traditional cigarettes as the new thing that kids kind of do. And it's marketed very heavily towards younger people as well.
Oh, definitely.
It's very
100%.
predatory.
It's weird to even see how much vapes have almost evolved, because I think back in the day when I heard vape, I just think of those big boxy cartridge yokes that only older people would have
to phase out because they were trying to stop smoking.
But now they've started with disposables and they're all in these nice colours and pretty flavours.
That has to be part of the marketing towards younger people, trying to
100%.
sanitize it as much as possible.
I've seen people younger than me with vapes that have mini games on them.
I'd never heard of that. That's awful.
Yeah, that you can't tell me that's not marketed towards children. That absolutely is.
Especially recently, it's there wasn't a ban on them yet. I'm pretty sure until recently, a couple when I lived in Wexford last year, there was a student in my school who was in second year, so they were 14 and 15. They bought 8 vapes a week, and they were able to. And it's the entire school in Wexford that I was in, every single student had a vape. I think there was maybe 4 people in the entire school who didn't have a vape.
God.
It was really surprising. They were trading. They were showing oh, hey, look, here's my new one. I did try one at a time, but it had especially with the disposable flavors, because they had a modern one which you can change. And so there's not only the cheap ones which you can get a few drags on, but then there's also the ones that are meant to last for a while, and that was it looked like it was meant for younger people because it had like some screen on it, and then it looked
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
We also don't know the health effects of it, so it's like sometimes it feels really strange they're marketing them so heavily when we don't know what they do in the long term. They just started going very heavy on it very quickly, almost like to try and get people addicted to them before they could figure out how bad they were.
Yeah, it's like a rerun of what's like originally happened with cigarettes. I think.
And the short term isn't great either, like popcorn lung and collapsed lungs and stuff. Like, if that's what's happening before we even know the long term stuff, like, it's kind of scary to know like what's out there later in life.
Do you think young people have an awareness of the health risks?
No.
You guys have mentioned some aspects of it there, but do you think generally they're known?
It's quite 50-50, isn't it?
Sort of. I would say in general, most young people aren't aware of like the health risks that vaping poses, or at least not because obviously everyone knows the general bad thing of like, oh, smoking isn't good for you, but you don't. There's a lot of people that just don't know really like more than that.
Yeah.
Like we learned about it in school, but you don't see a lot of it online or anything like the health risks or anything.
Oh, exactly, yeah. But even at that, we did that in like what, first or second year or something like that. I remember.
Fourth year, I think it was, or.
Oh, okay. Well, then we did it at 2 different points because I do remember
we
doing
did the
it,
vapes in
like,
fourth year, but we did cigarettes in like first year.
Oh, we did vapes as well because I specifically remember being told by our old guidance counselor that like, oh, vaping's bad, and I remember being handed like a sheet about why vaping is bad, but most of it I can't remember anything actually useful out of it because most of it was pretty much just, oh yeah, we don't know the long-term effects, but it's still not good for you.
Yeah.
And it's not good for you because we don't know what it does.
It isn't very informative, but it is like a good point, to be fair.
Obviously, we know that it can cause things like cancer and stuff. Like that's the same with all nicotine products. But then even I did some research a while back, is that even the ones that are like that aren't addictive, they still have some chemicals there which we don't know what they do. We just know that they apparently taste good, but it's still extremely dangerous because we don't know what it does. We don't know what the long-term effects are. Like, we have no idea what can happen to us if we still use these.
The government has recently passed legislation to introduce an 18-year age limit on the purchase of vapes. I asked the group if they thought that this action was taken quickly enough.
No, absolutely. Like, vapes have been a thing since before COVID.
Yeah, when did they start getting popular? Because I
think it was directly before, actually.
Yeah, I think
I remember
so.
Before that, having only seen like my parents or like relatives use them to try and get off cigarettes because of like the financial aspect.
Exactly, yeah.
And then during COVID, I know that you guys had a whole thing where you learned about vapes, but in my 5 years at a different school, and then the 1 year I spent at your school, we never had any sort of assembly or awareness thing about vapes. There was nothing. They'd become a problem within the school. And during COVID, it got much worse because kids were swapping vapes. And that was spreading COVID really badly. And that's around when I remember starting to see them everywhere. Like 2019, 2020.
It's actually quite interesting how the tables have flipped in a way. Like, originally people used vapes as like a gateway to get out of cigarettes, and now people are using vapes as a gateway into cigarettes almost. Like, the amount of people I've seen who started off with vapes and then moved on to cigarettes as opposed to the other way around.
Another recent legislation change has been the move to increase the age for purchase of tobacco products to 21. Should vapes and tobacco age limits not be the same?
I'd say it's very strange that they're being like put at different ages, considering that they're both quite harmful, although vaping is advertised as less harmful. But I'd say on just the basis of them both being like those addictive substances that they should be at 21 or treated at least sort of equally. But I think my reservations about the age limit and everything is more to do with the fact that is an age limit actually going to stop them being sold, or should they be focusing more on other legislation to like stop people getting addicted to these things?
Yeah, because I think people will find a way to get them even if they're not like of age to buy them.
Yeah, if the age limit is currently 18 and 12-year-olds are walking around with elf bars, then what's it going to do if you put it up at 21?
Yeah, exactly. There's been times I've been walking like past shops or whatever, and I've had people like a decent bit younger than me ask like, oh, will you go in and get me a bit of drink, or oh, will you like go and buy a packet of smokes for me or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm not. No. Like, if they're out here asking random people, that's that's a danger in itself, because that's just stupid. Why would you do that? It's just putting themselves at risk as well. It's just like they're gonna find a different way. Basically, there's always gonna be, like, let's say that one kid in your year who's like, parents don't care that they smoke, or their parents view vaping as like not as bad, so they'll buy their child vapes, and their child ends up becoming like a vape dealer of sorts in their school, which I can already kind of see happening.
That happened in Wexford.
Oh yeah, it's been happening in our
Everywhere.
school as well.
Everywhere.
I've seen Instagram pages centered around getting vapes for younger people, and that's like, what?
I know for a fact, because I actually know some of the kids who have been doing that, and it's also been super weird seeing the personality change with them as they've started to get more into these substances, and it's been really depressing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if it's like a side effect of the nicotine or what it is, or just like getting mixed up with the wrong people as a result of this, but like they get into very concerning states of mind after a while.
I think it's also a confidence thing. I think you want, I think especially with younger people, you want to look cool and more mature and older by using these things that, you know, you would see your parents use, or, you know, their friends. And then it's just like, oh yeah, you know, I'm all cool and I'm all, you know, mature and stuff, so I'm going to use it. But they have no idea what it actually does to them. And so it hurts them for the long run. And it just, in general, it just doesn't help them or their friends who they might, you know, peer pressure into using those products.
Do you think that enough is being done to inform young people about the health risks?
No.
No, not at all.
What would you do?
I think, like, especially with the vape shops and everything, there needs to be more, like, advertising and stuff on the inside about what vapes do, instead of just all these lovely colours.
Yeah.
And all this really cool stuff, and how, like, all of this different machinery for the vape pens and whatever. Like, no, have stuff up about exactly what's going to happen. People deserve to be informed about what they're putting in their bodies.
Like the way they do on cigarette packets.
Yeah.
They put the risks on there, they put pictures on there that are, you know, disgusting looking, so you won't want to try them and stuff. Which they need to be doing for the same on vapes.
Actually, on that note of like making cigarettes look ugly, fun fact for you: apparently, cigarette boxes are green because apparently that's supposed to be the ugliest shade of green that there is. So they put that shade of green on cigarette boxes as another deterrent, because it's supposed to make them look really drab and ugly. Which it kind of works, because it's like vapes look much more enticing when they're like, you know, these like cool shades of blue and like green and red and stuff.
So more much more childlike, or like, childlike actually is a good word.
Yeah, because I mean, kids are attracted to things that look color. I think people in general are attracted to things that look
big red vape,
colorful, and all that.
So, where are young people seeing advertisements and promotions for vape products?
Personally, I see it on Instagram a lot. I get a lot of ads for it. Not because, you know, I vape or I use those stuff, but just because I guess I'm still considered a young person on the app. So I'm guessing it's because I get stuff like for vapes, and I get stuff for lighters, and then I'll randomly get like a random toy for a baby. You know, it's like completely random. But I have been seeing a lot of vaping products, or a lot of, I guess, advertisements in the form of videos in general. Not just ads by Instagram, but also accounts advertising them to, you know, make profit off of.
There's also just shops down the street, like there's, you know, one's just like, oh, starter pack, you know, and just, you know, full shops of them. You don't see cigarette shops, you just see, but you see full on vape shops.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually going to say that, like, it's not necessarily an advertisement, but shops like on Bray Main Street, for example, it's painted this big bright color, and like you're like, oh, what's that? And then you look a bit closer and it's like, oh, it's a vape shop. Same with that shop that used to be down the road from Seomra. I think it was called or something. It was painted purple for a bit, and like they had them right up at like the front window as well, so you could like see all the vapes and all that. I feel like that's
isn't there
or everything.
Two on Bray Main Street as well?
Is,
there's the two like directly across from each other.
There's like
it's near Scott's Tools, I think.
Another one on the other side.
I'm not sure if it's that I don't watch like a whole, like I don't think we have cable or anything at home, so but
I don't see them online at all.
I only see them on like YouTube sponsorships the odd time, but I'd say most of the time when I see vapes or like anything to do with them, it is either walking past vape shops because you just can't avoid them anymore, or it's word of mouth because I feel like everyone knows at least one person who does it now.
I think curiosity is also like another huge kind of factor in vaping. Like if you haven't done it before and then someone or like a lot of people are doing it around you, you're bound to be curious as to what everyone else is experiencing.
Yeah, or even being stuck behind someone, like walking behind someone who's like vaping in front of you, and suddenly you get like a big cloud of like cotton candy in your face, and you're like,
taking the bus is nightmare. Taking the bus is such a nightmare. The thing I was saying earlier, I cannot get on that bus home anymore without people hotboxing the upstairs of the bus and getting mad at me when I go to open a window because I can't breathe with all the steam.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And it's 12-year-olds doing it.
Yeah, I know people that like are against smoking in the car, but will absolutely vape in the car.
The whole misconception people have that it's so much safer and there's like no harmful effects of this or whatever seems to have more effects than just them not being informed about what they're putting in their bodies, but also like the second, like, because we have a concept of secondhand smoke and don't smoke around people, especially children. But with vapes, it's like they get so much more confident about it and almost irritable when you say, I don't want you to do that around me. Because they think that there's nothing wrong with it, so you're just getting upset over nothing. But, like, people have a right to not want you to be blowing strawberry steam into their face the entire time you're talking to them.
Exactly, and also, like, even at that, for some people, it's just, like, annoying, and I just don't think you should do it in general, because it's just bad manners, and it's generally not cool. But also, like, you have no idea what people's health issues around you are like as well. They're like, you know, like, it's just so many reasons you just shouldn't.
I've had some pretty actually scary altercations with people when I've asked them, like, hey, you're right next to me. Like, I'm not in a position where I can move. Can you please just, like, wait 5 minutes until I get away for you to do that? And they get actually angry at me. And it's, like, really stressful and strange to see, like, people seem to be even more addicted to these things now with cigarettes, because if you ask a smoker, a lot of the time they'll be really polite about it, but people with vapes don't.
Yeah, and even when smokers aren't polite about it, the people around you are also like, oh, that's bad out, like, you should just listen to them, like, that's, you know, it's a bit stupid, but because nobody views vaping as seriously, they're just like, yeah, no, what are you getting upset about? It's just, like...
Even complaining about it, I feel kind of guilty, because, yeah, it's not as bad, even though I know that, no, it's still, like, pretty reasonable to ask them not to, but that guilt is still there because people think it's not bad.
The reason why vaping is treated differently to tobacco smoking is because vaping isn't included in the current tobacco-related legislation. I asked the group if they thought that vaping should be treated in exactly the same way as tobacco smoking.
Yeah, I think that'd be useful.
Yeah. We need to be stigmatizing it the same way that we do with tobacco, I think, if that's the right term.
I think
so, yeah.
I think that vapes and cigarettes should be... They're pretty much the same thing. They're just in a different, I guess, container. And whilst one might be more dangerous than the other, they're still both addictive substances which are dangerous for people in general. Obviously, they should. If you looked at it from a normal standpoint, they shouldn't be advertised at all because they're dangerous to people. They kill people. But money, I guess. But still, it doesn't make much sense that we should treat vapes differently, especially when they're directly used to target a younger audience. I mean, that should ring some bells and like let you know that you're not doing the right thing and we're not doing enough. As we said, it's not that we don't see advertisements, or it's not that what was the question? It's not that enough wasn't being done, or that the limit should be increased. We should try and limit the amount that we're exposed to in general, not just by saying, oh, hey, we're gonna increase it to this. Like, people will still get it, like Davon said. So, like, it's not. They should be in the same category and treated the same, so that we try to limit how much people actually do use it.
Yeah, it's like we've forgotten that, yeah, vaping is better, like, it's less harmful. It's not, like, outright carcinogenic in the same way that tobacco is.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean you should be doing it. The ideal situation isn't to be vaping instead of smoking. The ideal situation is to be doing neither of those things.
Exactly.
You have been listening to a podcast from the Wizards Guild.
You